Yo, what's up my friends? Welcome back to my channel. This is Flutter Provider package series, and in today's topic we're going to learn the proxy provider. We talked about different provider widget in previous lesson, so if you are new to my channel, feel free to reach out to my channel page and you will find the Flutter Provider series in the playlist. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, sum up my content, and open the notification so you won't miss out the latest Flutter tutorial. Okay, without further ado, let's get started. So let me give you an example how we're going to use this proxy provider in today's demo project. Let's jump into the Visual Studio Code. So before we using this proxy provider, I create two actual class. One is the customer class, another one is the credit card class. In the credit card class, we use change notify maxin. So every time I update the amount in the credit card class, the consumer will get notified and rebuild the UI. So that's basically for this credit card class. We have amount attribute by default set to 0. We have two methods. One is increase this amount by giving the deposit. Another method is decrease the amount by calling this withdraw method. And then we're using notify listener to let consumer knows we're going to rebuild the UI. For the customer class, you can see we have a reference to the credit card class, and we're using the constructor to pass this credit card object, right? And you also have deposit and withdraw, those two methods by using the credit card deposit and credit card withdraw, right? And in this customer class, you have this own attribute called numbers of credit card. By default, I set to 1, and I have this apply new credit card method. When I call this method, I'm going to increase the number of the credit card by 1, and also I will print out the total number of credit card in the console. What I like to do in this project is I'm going to instantiate the customer class by inject the credit card using the proxy provider. Let me show you how I did it in this main.dart file. So in the main.dart file, we return this proxy provider. So you see that in the proxy provider, we have two types in this anchor bracket. The first type is something we're going to inject to the second type. However, for the second type holds a reference to the first type. So let me show you in the code here. The credit card will be injected to the customers. So the customers need to write in the second type. So for this update attribute, we're going to instantiate this customer object by inject the credit card. For this proxy provider example, so let me open this simulator. You can see in this proxy provider, first we have a text widget show the total amount in our credit card, and then we have another consumer as a button. When you press, you will deposit. Means I'm going to increase it by 10. And I have another consumer. You see the differences. For the first one, I put this credit card in the consumer. So for the other one, I'm using the customer. And here I'm using customer.withdraw. I'm going to test it. When I press this deposit button, you see I will trigger this credit card.deposit 10. So the amount will increase by 10, right? The reason is we're using the change notifier for this credit card, and in this multi-provider we put the change notifier provider here. So you will listen to our credit card attribute. So if I increase the amount, the overall UI will rebuild. So you see the amount is increased to 10. However, for this withdraw button, I didn't trigger the credit card.withdraw. Instead, I'm using the customer.withdraw, right? You'll do the same thing. So let me withdraw, and you see the amount decrease to the 0. The reason is we're using this proxy provider, and the customer hold the object to this credit card, and the credit card extend a change notifier. So when I press the button, I trigger this customer.withdraw, right? In the customer withdraw, we were using credit card.withdraw. So the credit card using this change notify maxim. So that's the reason you see this UI get rebuilt, the amount decreased to 0. However, we have a normal class for these customers, and we have its own attribute, which is number of credit card. So by default, it's set to 1. And I have a method to update this attribute, which is apply new credit card method. So when I press this apply button, the number of credit card will increase by 1. So let's see this proxy provider example. In here we have total number of credit card wrapped by the consumer. Also we have a button. When I press the button, it will trigger apply new credit card. Means I'm going to update the total number of credit card by 1. So let's see. When I press this button, the total number of credit card increased to 2. However, on the screen, it still shows the 1. The reason for this, because the customer is a normal class. We don't have a change notify maxim. So it won't tell the consumer to rebuild the UI. Okay, that's back to the Mindmap. So for the proxy provider itself, it doesn't update the UI. The reason you see our demo update is total amount because the credit card extends this change notify maxim, which we're using the change notifier provider for the credit card. So that's the reason you see the credit card will update the UI. Okay, that's all for today's lesson. I hope you all have better understanding for the proxy provider. We will continue our provider journey in the coming lesson. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, some of my content, and open the notification so you won't miss out the latest Flutter tutorial. Okay, thanks for watching. I will see you in next one.